Welcome to another video from explainingcomputers.com. This time I'm going to return to the Google AIY Voice Kit for the Raspberry Pi. In the last of these videos I put this together, I did all the setup on the Google Cloud Platform, and I had a chat with Google Assistant.
I'll have you know these are my original features.
This time I'm going to take things further. I want to look at some of the code that's being used to make this work, and I also want to do some GPIO voice control. So, here we have the Google AIY Voice Kit as we had it built up in the last of these videos, and you might remember we used it to access Google Assistant. I didn't show you the actual code that did that, so this is the code over here which Google kindly supplied. It's got lots of license information at the front and lots of information on what it's going to do, but basically it starts down here, it imports various modules and libraries and things, and it gets on with a process which basically listens out for the phrase "OK Google" and then enters into a conversation using Google Assistant. And you might remember we actually run that from a command line here. We can run that up, and there it is. If we cut to a shot of the box, we can say "OK Google, how are you?"
Great, thanks. What can I do for you?
What's 2 times 7?
The answer is 14.
So as you can see, that's very helpful. I'll just go Control-C to finish that off. Now, many of you have asked me, what is the button for? Why is the button on this box? Why is it not just a light but also a button? And the reason for that is you can trigger the Google system, the Google Assistant system, the Google Voice system using different methods, one of which is a button. And Google actually give us some code for that, which I think is here. This is the same sort of code, but this is triggering with a button, so exactly the same thing really. But down here they've got a section to actually access the voice hats button and to use that as a trigger. So if we go over here, let's try that out. It's in here somewhere. Where is it? There we are. We'll run that one up. And now I could go, "OK Google, what's the square root of 79?
Square root 79 is approximately 8.888.
But I could also do this. What's the square root of 84?
Square root 84 is approximately 9.165.
So as you can see, we've got 2 possible methods of triggering. We can use the phrase, or we can use pressing the button. So that's as far as we got really last time. But wouldn't it be great if we could use this to take our own voice commands and to use them to do things like controlling GPIO pins? So we're going to do that, but first of all, we need to do a bit more setup on the Google Cloud Platform. Right. To start experimenting with voice control, we need to set a few more things up on the Google Cloud Platform that's supporting the device on the Pi. So I've gone to Google Cloud Platform like I went in the last video, and we've selected our project Pi AIY. And the first thing we need to do here is to go to APIs and Services and to Credentials, and we need to do some new credentials if it comes up in a second. There it is, and we now want to do a service account key. So we'll select that, and the service account wants to be a new service account because we haven't got one already. We'll call it Pi AIY Services. Let's call it something like that. Wants to be JSON, that's okay. The role wants to be project and viewer. There we are. I think that'll be okay. And then obviously now we can just go to create. And it's now downloaded our key, which is good. So we'll close that. And if we go to downloads, hopefully there's our key. So we'll take the key and we'll rename it. It's going to be called Cloud Speech JSON, and that's okay. And again, like last time, we need to cut it from there, and we need to go back up a level and drop that into home. We'll paste it in there next to our assistant key as well. Right, next thing we need to do is we need to go back to the menu here. We'll go to APIs and Services, and we want to go to the library. We need to turn on the appropriate speech API. So hopefully this will come up and we'll search for speech. There we are, speech API is there. And hopefully we can enable that, which is good. Enable billing. Now we have to enable billing apparently to make this work. It won't necessarily bill us anything, but we have to have a billing method in place. So we'll enable billing. And we'll need to create a billing account. There we are, that seems okay. We can try for free in the UK. Please email updates regarding features. No, I think I've read the terms. Yes, agree and continue. And there we are. We need to create a profile, so I'll just put this information in. And there we are, that's all now set up. I had to put in various personal details there. I did have to put in a credit card, which they won't apparently bill, but they'll use to identify me. And I've now got a free trial of the Google Cloud Platform, lots of different services. Anyway, I can now just press got it on there, and also I can go and press enable on here, and in theory, everything is now set up so I can try out voice services. Right. With everything now set up on the Google Cloud Platform, we can in theory try to use this in some code. And once again, I'll start out using some code that Google have provided for this purpose. Why reinvent the wheel? And this basically imports the modules we need here, AIY Audio and Cloud Speech and the Voice Hat module. And what it shows is, if we want to react to particular phrases, we have to set them up so the recognizer expects to find them. So here this is done, so it's actually expecting phrases like turn off the light, turn on the light, blink, etc. And what this code then does is it actually waits for the button to be pressed, so we can see down here, and then it uses the recognizer to look for these particular phrases we've told it about, and then if it finds them, it uses that information to turn on or turn off the light on the voice hat, turn off the LED. And it's also here got built into it, it seems, the command goodbye, which you can use to get out of the program. So if we actually run this, we'll run that up like that. And there it is, it's come up. And it now says press the button and speak. So if I go back to this, I can go press the button, turn on the light. And it turned on the light. Isn't that marvellous? I could press the button again, blink. Goodbye. And there we are. That works. I thought I'd try something slightly more exciting. So I've got another piece of code. I think it's over, where is it? Over here. What I've done here is exactly the same, but I've added in some say command as well. You see we've got the command here, AIY.audio.say, which means it can actually say the text you give it after the command itself. So basically I've added these in. So this is virtually the same, but if I run this code, which I've got somewhere, that's my own little demo. That'll come up in a second, hopefully. There we are. I can now press the button and speak. I could go, turn on the light.
I will turn on the light.
There we are. It told us what it's going to do, and it did it. I could go, turn off the light.
Okay, I will turn off the light.
And I could even go, goodbye.
All finished. I enjoyed running that code.
There we are. As I think you probably can recognise, the voice we get there is not the same voice we get from Google Assistant, although it doesn't sound that way to me. Anyway, that shows a basic principle. We're now capable of actually triggering the system and using it to pick up a particular phrase and do something. It would be great if that something was actually controlling a GPIO pin. So let's see if we can sort that out. Right, I've now disassembled the AIY voice kit, and this has allowed me to get to the board itself. And what I've done is I've taken some of these pins which are supplied with the kit, and I've taken two sets of 3 of these pins and I've placed them down here on the board. And I've also soldered them in at the back. You might be able to see there's my lovely soldering. These things are now soldered to the board. And what this will allow me to do is to connect some jumper leads to these pins, and I can connect it all up back onto the Raspberry Pi, put it all back together again so we can control some LEDs. And here we are. Everything's now back together, and I've got these two LEDs on this little breadboard connected into these wires which come from those pins I added to the board. If we look at the actual wiring diagram, we've basically got two LEDs connected indirectly to GPIO pins on the Raspberry Pi through current limiting resistors. So, if we look at some code, I've taken the code I had previously and added to it. For a start, when we're importing libraries here, I've imported the GPIO library because we want to control GPIO pins. I've set the mode for GPIO, and I've set up pins 26 and 6 as outputs. Then in the recognizer code here, I've set up phrases for turning the red LED on and off, green, and also both of them, as you can see. And then in the code below, it'll now look for those phrases. So if it finds I've actually said, say, turn red on, it will turn the GPIO pin 26 to true to turn on that LED. And that just continues through as you would expect. So if I run this code, which is sitting there it is. And if we just switch to the camera view, this is a bit dark because I've got the exposure set so we can see the LEDs, and I'll try pushing the button. Turn red on.
Okay, I will turn red on.
Turn green on.
Okay, I will turn green on.
Turn both off.
Okay, I will turn both of them off.
Turn both on.
Okay, I will turn both of them on.
As I hope you agree, this has been very exciting. Goodbye.
All finished. That was really exciting.
There you are. I told you it was exciting. We've learned how to control LEDs linked to GPIO pins through the Google AIY voice kit. The Google AIY voice kit is a great addition to the Raspberry Pi, but it does have its limitations. Not least, I'm sure some of you have been saying as you watch this video, we don't want to push a button and then give a voice command, we just want to give a voice command. And it's important to recognise the way this system works and the way similar systems work, like the Alexa system from Amazon. And they work not by constantly listening to your audio, but by having a trigger which then tells them to go into listen mode, then record some audio, then send it off to the cloud, interpret it and send it back again. So here we can either use a button to go into that to give the trigger, or you could use anything else connected to GPIO to give the trigger. You could use a motion sensor, for example. Or you can use the OK Google thing, which is basically listening for the OK Google phrase. When it hears that, it then puts the thing into listen mode, then listens to some audio and does something with it. So I'm sure it's possible, I could actually find a way, I've not done it yet, but I'm sure it's possible to have the thing set up so you go, OK Google, turn on green, etc. And you could link in some motors. You can even, on the AIY voice kit board, you can cut a particular jumper on the board, a particular pad, and you can then connect up some batteries and then run servos or motors from the board from an alternative power supply. That's all possible. And I can imagine a situation where you would go, OK Google, forward, OK Google, right, etc. But it wouldn't be quite as fluid as that because there are gaps between the trigger and the listening and the interpretation. And I do worry about controlling a robot saying, OK Google, wait for a second, stop. Oh, you've fallen off a cliff already. So clearly there are issues here with gaps and that type of thing. But the main thing I've learned here, and this for me is as a learning experience getting into voice interfaces, is I now think about voice interfaces differently the way I did when I started using this kit. It's got me thinking about these issues of listening mode and interpretation and time lags and that type of thing. And that's good. People often say, why do you get things like the Google AIY voice kit? The reason you get it is it gets you thinking and learning about the way computing is developing, in this particular instance, voice interfaces. Anyway, that's now it for this video. I'm sure I'll continue to experiment with voice from both Google and other suppliers over the months and years ahead. But that's now it for this time. If you've enjoyed the video, please press that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And I hope to talk to you again very soon.